Okay, so now we need to build the workflow that gets the OpenAI Assistant to respond to comments. Now, how is this going to work with Heartbeat? Ideally, Heartbeat would give us a webhook that sends out a notification whenever someone responds to the thread, and then we could take it from there. But unfortunately, Heartbeat doesn't do that. So let's just see exactly what Heartbeat does. So in order to do that, we need to have a look at what webhooks are actually available. So this is the list of all the webhook notifications that Heartbeat can send out right now. As you can see, there's a webhook when someone joins, when someone updates their profile, when an event is created, RSVP, new thread. Okay, we've used that one. So when a certain group, a user, is mentioned in a thread or a comment. So we're going to be using that one. But as you can see, we don't have a webhook that sends a notification when just someone pastes a comment. So in the absence of that, we're going to be using this webhook. But if you read what this webhook is about, you will see that we're going to have to handle one little complication, which is this webhook will fire when someone mentions the bot either in a comment or in a thread. So we need to remember that because we already have a workflow that responds to folks creating new threads, and we don't need the bot to be mentioned when they're creating a thread. When it comes to comments, the bot needs to be mentioned. Now, we just need to make sure that we filter this webhook when it fires only on the comment, when the bot is mentioned in the comment and not in the thread. Otherwise, you will see the assistant responding to the new thread twice. Okay, with that in mind, how are we going to build the new workflow? The new workflow will be like this one. It's just the opening bit will be a bit different. So guess what we probably could do is we could clone this workflow and then modify it a little bit. Shall we do that? Let's do that. So we're going to clone this workflow, and it is now this little clone that we have. Okay, let's rename it into new comment, new assistant, just for me to know that this is the new workflow. And we've got a new webhook URL, so just need to copy it, and we need to recapture the response because the response will be different. And in fact, actually, what we also need to do is we need to create a new webhook, don't we? Let's get into here. And let's go into webhooks. Just make sure that we've got the right key in here. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay, let's go to webhooks. We need to go into need to create a new webhook. And this one will be on mention. And we need to filter on what user and what channel. We need to add both. So what user ID, type as user, so we need a user ID. Now, hopefully, again, you remembered and stored the user ID of the bot, the user that you've created in Heartbeat. I'm just going to copy it and paste it here. And then channel ID. I'm going to restrict all these mentions of this user only in the assistant channel that I've created, just to keep things organized. But again, see for your needs and what you need to build. And then I need to add the webhook URL. So going back into Pabbly, copying, and paste it here. Done. Try it. Okay, so that webhook has been created. Let's test that webhook. Also, we need to get some data. So Pabbly's waiting for the webhook response. And let's get back into our community. And let's mention, in fact, you know what we can do? We can just reply to the first level of comments, and the mention comes up automatically. Let's just say, how do I change the keyboard layout? Okay, and it should pick up the new mention in the webhook response, and that's exactly what we did. Now, see here that it in the hook response, there's this field here that says source type, and the value is comment. That is exactly what we need. Because the alternative one, if you create a thread and mention the bot user, it will also fire and it will give you the thread source type. So we need to filter on the comment source type, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we need to create a filter. I know that these are a whole bunch of other steps from the previous workflow. Just let them sit here and don't worry about them. We're going to create a filter, and this filter will filter on comments only. So here, filter values, connect, and in the webhook here, in source type equal to, going to write comment, send and save request. It should resolve as success because the condition is true. I think we should also probably filter on the channel ID just in case. You've already restricted it in the channel, so there's no reason why you need it, but you know what? Maybe we should do that too. Let's do that too. So source channel ID, and we're just gonna copy the ID of the channel, of the assistant channel that you have created. We're going to paste it here, and let's send and test. Again, it should also resolve as true. And there it is. Okay. Now, the next module here is we need to get the whole thread, because again, Heartbeat doesn't allow us to just get one message. We have to get the whole thread and then locate the message. So it gives us, just to give you guys some insight into bits of data, and gives us the ID of the user type, user ID, source type, and then it gives us the comment ID. But there is no endpoint in Heartbeat API to retrieve a comment by comment ID. It doesn't exist. So we have to go slightly around and use a different method, which is we're going to get the whole thread, and then we're going to extract the text of that comment using the comment ID. Okay, we're filtering on the source, which is a comment in the channel. So let's rename this filter on progress only if the source is a comment. Okay, and then so the next step is to get the whole thread. Get the whole thread means we can use the same step that we already had. So I'm just using what we've had from the previous workflow that copied itself over when we cloned it. Okay, and the only thing is we need to change the mapping here to just map in the source thread ID. This is the one that we need to map. I think it's the same in the previous workflow. It might be the same, but it doesn't really matter. Let's do it this way. And now it's important that you switch off simple response here. Okay, otherwise it's not going to work. The rest of it will not work. So let's save and test request. Okay, cool. Now, when the thread has comments in it, it gives you this API endpoint, get the thread contents, gives you the latest 20 comments in here. Now, what you're looking at is called an array or list. So this is an array of comments. And this is, you could call it massive gibberish. But essentially, if we look at how Heartbeat structures comments, you can have a comment that has children, and you can have a comment that doesn't have children. So if you look at how Heartbeat structures its comments, so this comment, for example, it can have children, and it has children here. So this is the child comment, this one. However, Heartbeat only allows you 2 levels of comments. So this one and this one. And what this means is that if you, say for example, you want to respond to this comment, you can't, because you're going to be responding to this comment. Okay, so that's important. And that's why, for example, here you would have to mention the new assistant, because that mention doesn't come in automatically. Essentially, we need the workflow to be able to pick up a comment regardless whether it is the parent comment here or if this is the child comment in here. And that is exactly what we're going to do. Don't worry about trying to understand how this is all structured, because so I've done it for you. So the next module that we're going to add here is the one that's going to extract the text of the comment. And the text of the comment we're going to be extracting with the code module of Pabbly. So let's locate the code module, and it will be a JavaScript code. And let's rename this module into extract the text, extract the comment text and parent comment ID. So we need the comment text to pipe it into the OpenAI Assistant, and we also need the the ID of the comment to which we need to be responding later on. And essentially, if the comment that we captured here doesn't have any children, then the parent ID becomes its own comment ID. But if the comment has children, but if the comment does not have children, so in fact, if it's a child comment, then we need to be responding to its parent comment, its parent ID. Just to visualize this for you, if you look at Heartbeat's API, and we're going to go and look at channels, and there is an endpoint here. It says create a new comment. What we need to give Heartbeat is the text. We need to give the thread ID, and then we need to give it the parent comment ID, and that is essentially the comment to which we're going to be responding. If we are responding to this comment, it doesn't have a parent comment ID because it's a top level comment. But if we're responding to this comment, then its parent comment ID is this one. And the module that we're going to be using, the code module, it dynamically extracts the ID of the comment for you to respond to. Now, I will include the code snippet in the comments to this video for you to insert in here. So I'm just going to add it here. So we'll just need to modify something. So this array here, const comment array. So the comments array is essentially going to map one of the previous steps. Yep. That's what we're going to map. Yep. So keep the semicolon here. So we're going to do everything here and map the array we got from Heartbeat. And it's this comments array, this massive gibberish here. Okay. And then it's the rest. Is there anything else? Okay. Source comment ID, as you can see. So this one, this little guy, we need to map. So keep the quote. And then the comment ID we need to get here. There it is. Okay. And I believe this is all we need to map. That's it. And let's run this snippet. And it gives us 2 bits of output. Number 1 is the content of the comment. And this is exactly how do I change the keyboard layout. And then it gives us the parent ID. So this is the ID of the comments that we need to be responding to. Again, this comment here, it has a parent and it doesn't have children. So it's a second level comment. And that's why when we are responding to this comment, so if you click respond, we're actually responding to this comment, right? Because you can't respond to this comment. Heartbeat doesn't give you any more than 2 levels. So that's why correctly this code snippet picked up and gave us the right ID of the comment to respond to. Okay. And so the text of this code snippet will be included into the notes to the lesson. So just need to make sure you map the right bits and pieces. Cool. And then what's going to be the next module? Okay, so the next module is for us to find the thread ID in the Google Sheet. Now, as you can understand, I'm sure that we are now operating within a thread that's already been created in the first workflow, which means that we have both the thread ID, that the Heartbeat thread ID, and we have a corresponding thread ID in the OpenAI that we've already recorded and mapped with each other. So we need to locate it now. The next module will be Google Sheets, and it's the lookup spreadsheet row. So let's add it. Google Sheets and lookup spreadsheet. And it's chatbot operations, it's threads. The lookup value is the source thread ID from here. And the lookup columns is A, because it's from A to A, because this is where we're storing the Heartbeat thread IDs, and the rest can just leave as it is and keep the simple response. Now it gives us the row index, but it actually doesn't give us the content, the row index, which means that we need another module, and that is the one that will actually get the contents of the row. So the module is get rows. Okay. So you go and add another Google Sheet module. The action is get rows, and it's chatbot operations, it's threads, and then you need to give a range. Like, what range are we actually getting to? We know that the range that we need is we need the whole range, right? We only have 2 columns, so A and B. But what row? Do we need all rows? No, we just need one row. And which row is it? That's the one that the previous step found for us. Very simply, how do we specify a range in Google Sheets or Excel? Is with a column. So the row that it found for us in the previous module, the row number is 3. So it's A3 to B3, isn't it? It's this one, A3 to B3. Okay. So let's go into this module and let's type A, and then let's map the row index 3. That becomes A3 column, and then put B and map 3, A3 to B3. Okay, and let's run it and see what it finds. And lo and behold, it gives us everything that we need. It gives us the content, it gives us the Heartbeat ID and the OpenAI ID, and this is what we're actually looking for. Now we're getting back to some of the modules that we've created that we copied over. So rather than creating a thread, so we don't actually need to create thread anymore. So we can delete this module because we're just found the thread. We need to add a message to that thread, and we don't need to record Heartbeat thread and OpenAI ID in Google because we've already done it. So let's delete this one. And now we need to add the message to the OpenAI thread. But before we go any further, let's do some renaming. So this one will be get the contents of the threads row. And this one will be, no, this is not the get context. This is the row number for the Heartbeat ID or the find. And this would be contents found row. Okay, that's done. And now this is add user message to the OpenAI ID thread. Now let's just make sure that we've got the right thread IDs. So the thread ID will be the one that we've just found and then get contents. So this is this one, OpenAI ID. Then the row is still user, and the content must be from this one, extract the comment text and parent comment ID. And it's this one, content, right here. As you can see, this piece of content is in plain text. Thankfully, we've instructed the OpenAI Assistant that some of the user content will come as plain text. And let's just run this module, and that's it. The message has been added. Now, the next module is exactly the same. Run the OpenAI thread through the assistant. We just need to make sure that everything is remapped, seeing as we've cloned this module from a different module. So thread ID would be, you can just take it from here. So thread ID is this one, and the rest is the same. So let's run it. And then the array is exactly the same. We don't need to change anything because it's a standalone module here. There is no map data. There is no, I guess with the iterator, let's just make sure that we're do refresh fields and just remap it because we've got 2 arrays here now. So you need this one. Step number 9, save and test. Then create a 20-second delay. There's no mapping here whatsoever. We're not going to do it. Just click save, always click save. Then going to check if the run has been published for some reason. Oh yeah, I think we've skipped it. Run the OpenID. So let's just make sure that we've mapped right thread. Map it from the previous step ID. So I need to run it. Let's run it. Okay, it's running. Then array, iterate on this array. So we've got 6 items, iterate 6 items, 20-second delay. Check if the run's been published. Now here we need to map the run that we've just created. So let's find that step on the OpenAI ID thread. This is the run ID. The rest is the same. So let's check the status of the run. Data not found. Why is it that it's not found? Why is it that it's not found? Oh yes, that is actually correct because it hasn't been published yet, which is absolutely fine. Everything is mapped correctly. Okay, cool. So then let's keep going. So filter only on runs that aren't found. So this should be fine, but let's just make sure that everything is mapped correctly again. So 0. Check all your mappings when you're cloning workflows. Get the status of the run. Yes. So here we just need to just remap some data. So we need a thread ID. The thread ID would be in here, and we need the run ID, and the run ID is so here. Let's check the status of the run. Okay, so this run is actually completed, which is fine. Remap the filter, refresh the fields, and remap the filter on the completed run. As you can see, we're going a lot quicker here. Then we need to again list all messages in the OpenAI thread. So again, refresh the fields and remap the data, thread ID, and we're going to list all the messages. And oh, that's interesting. It says, unfortunately, I couldn't locate the relevant information changing the keyboard layout in the user manual provided. But then this is when it starts accessing its general memory, the GPT, whatever it has in there. Okay, just pretty cool, because I guess you want the assistant to try. It's funny that it couldn't find how to do the keyboard layout. So now we need to add this comment into Heartbeat. Okay, now this is, let's see, we're going to be using exactly the same module, but we need to remap some data. Again, let's refresh all the fields and let's map some data from the user ID. So mentioned user is this one, but the user ID who created the comment is this one. And then I think this is mapped correctly because I can see that. Okay, and thread ID, we need to find the thread ID from the webhook data. There it is. Now, parent comment ID. So remember, it was null because we weren't responding to a comment. We were responding to a new thread. Now here, we do have a comment to respond to, and we need the parent comment ID, which we found. The code that found it for us output. So parent ID, there it is. And the user ID is correct. It's the same user ID, it's the bot. So let's run it and see if we have a comment. Let's see. There it is. What's the comment? There it is. Okay, and the last step here is we need to add a new row to the runs because now, refresh the fields, this run has also been published. So let's go to the run and make sure we add the run ID to the runs table. There it is. That's the run ID. It's just been published. Okay, so this workflow is now live. Let's test it. Let's go into Heartbeat and let's leave a comment. So we know that leaving a comment responding at this level works, but what if I just want to leave a comment here? I need to mention the new assistant and let's give it a comment. Can I say, how can I change the power settings? I don't even know if this is included in the manual, but let's see. Let's see what happens. And as you can see, we now have a response from the assistant. So again, it's trying to, for some reason, put the sources in here. But in this case, it's found some information in the manual exactly on how to do it. That's it. So we have a live integration of the OpenAI Assistant natively within Heartbeat, and we did it to maximize the user experience. We matched the OpenAI thread organization with Heartbeat's thread organization. We have compensated for some of the quirks of OpenAI's API by using the code module inside Pabbly, and we did this creatively. So I think we've done an excellent job, and I hope it works out for you.